Most people wait until there's major problems. I used to say, like, you first half of your life working for wealth, then you spend your wealth on the next half spending on your health because you didn't take care of yourself. So at some point you're going to pay. It's crazy because a lot of people, I hear them say,
oh, I saw this new supplement on TV.
And they go take it because it's going to burn fat or what increase their energy or whatever it's going to be. And it's like, man, you'll find people that say they can't afford it, but yet they're going and spending money on other things, beer,
alcohol, Starbucks,
alcohol, and
junk food, whatever,
or weed, or all the things that really doesn't help move their life. I'll be 50 in August, and I feel better than I did 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
have more energy. I feel like I can compete with anybody. Still to this day, doing anything. It's all because I took care of my health. What's up, guys? My name is Jason Watson. I'm 49 years old. I have a wife and 2 small kids. I'm a serial entrepreneur, multiple businesses. I have a serious passion for health and fitness, which is actually where I spend most of my time today.
I'm Dr. Darrin VanScoyke. I've got about 30 years experience in the functional medicine field. DC, PT, functional med certified, married 30 years this year actually. 4 kids, 6 grandchildren. So fitness is something that's been in my life forever, both in the competitive aspect and then also really getting the word out to other people, because again, I'm almost 52. So Jason and I are both in that same age bracket. And there's no reason, no matter what your age, you can't feel the absolute best that you possibly can. And it's never too late to start. And we kind of want to set that standard and get that information out there for everybody. So I've tried to live it all of my life and really put the information out so that other people can live the life and enjoy the life the way that I do too. And I know that's the way you are too,
100%.
Brother.
I credit all the success I have in my businesses that I run due to fitness and staying in serious elite shape, especially having a younger wife, younger kids, having that energy and the mindset and the discipline that it takes to actually be in elite shape at an older age. Just 10x's everything else in my life, and that's really
and it takes more work. And you
it's a lot of work.
It takes when you hit that 50 years, man. It's a little bit more effort. You got to be more controlled with the diet. You got to be better with the gym time.
Yeah.
But you can still do it. And I know you're getting in better shape. We've had this conversation. You've got goals that you want to hit, and I'm always looking how to get stronger, how to improve my shape, how to be bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
The faster part's a little more difficult now, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why anybody, no matter what age, really no matter what shape that they're in, can't start, right? And find a better physique, find better health. And like you said, it absolutely 10x's everything else. I mean, you have more energy, right? You can focus better. You're a better father. You're a better husband. You're a better businessman because you can just do more, right? You have more energy.
Hey guys, if you ever need anything at all you got to do is text the number below and we'll be there for you.
I mean, how many times do you hear people, I'm just too tired to do that. I'm too tired to meal prep. I'm too tired to go to the gym. I just don't have the energy. I feel I see women all the time in our clinic. One of the things they complain about is how bad they feel as a mother because they just don't have the energy to play with their kids, interact with their kids. They're just struggling to get by from coming home from work, maybe trying to fix a meal, and then they're just done. Like they don't have the time or the energy. They feel like to play with their children, their kids, or then even interact with their husband, right? And that's a big part of marriage as well too. And we're talking about physical intimacy. They just don't feel it, right? They just don't feel good.
Yeah.
And so, we see that, and that's something that, physical fitness plays a massive role in. Nutrition, diet, right? All the stuff that we're trying to really get people to really look into and really buy into because of how much better they can feel.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, we've talked about this earlier, it's like they get to a certain age and it's like, oh, this is what's expected. I'm expected to be overweight. I'm expected to be out of shape. I'm expected to not feel great. And it's like, I tell people, and I know you feel the same, I'll be 50 in August and I feel better than I did 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and I have more energy. I feel like I can compete with anybody, still to this day doing anything. And it's all because I've took care of my health along the way. So for someone out there that thinks that that's the case just because you're older, like, first of all, it's never too late to get started.
It isn't, no.
It's just about, setting it as a priority, setting new standards in your life, non-negotiables, getting around other people that are living that lifestyle like we do, right? We're around people that are in shape
all the time.
So it's a lot easier to stay in shape when you're around people doing the thing that you want to do, right? And the problem is most people have just because their friends are like this or their neighbors are like this and it's been like that for 20 years for them, that they expect that's just the normal for their life. And it's just is so not true. And that's why people that are in shape stand out. And people are like, well, what are you doing differently?
And even the doctors are like that. I mean, I get women coming in the clinic all the time going, I feel terrible. I've been to my doctor.
Yeah.
They say, well, you're 40. You've got 4 kids. You should be tired.
Right.
No. You're 40. You have 4 kids.
Yep.
You should still feel great.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. You can't accept status quo.
That's right.
Right? Because if you accept status quo, you will never go forward.
That's right.
And you know what you said, you're this way because you've been in shape, but you're always trying to get in better shape,
That's
right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even when you hit the level that we've hit, we never go, this is good enough, right? I mean, I never look in the mirror and go, oh, I don't think I could do better. Or I don't look at my energy levels and go, hey, how can I tweak this? Or my concentration, or sometimes maybe I have a little doldrum moment in the afternoon. I'm like, well, why is that happening, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always looking at ways to get better. And it's not really necessarily about the physique. It's like just literally about being in better health. How can I modify my diet? What are some of these things that I can do? And so if we can do that, then the general layperson absolutely can do it. Because our schedules are crazy.
Yeah.
So if you're not at 50 and 52, if we can fit that into our schedule with family, with children, grandchildren, a farm like this, anybody can do it. And there's no reason that they have to delay that. They need to get started now. Because if they don't start, they won't, right? They're always going to be stuck. Like, I've had that conversation. Unless they take that first step forward, they're always going to be where they're at. They're never going to move forward. They're always going to feel bad. They're always going to regret it. They're going to look at themselves and not like themselves because of the person they think they should be and they're not. And that makes it, especially with women. I mean, women feel really guilty. My heart really goes out to women because they get the bad rap. Guys are like, I feel terrible. A doctor will be like, oh, well, you probably have low testosterone. Here, fix it. Like I said, I get women in my clinic day after day coming in going, I'm tired. I don't feel like having intimacy with my husband. I feel like I'm a terrible mother because I don't have time for, I don't feel like I've got enough energy for my kids. And the doctor says it's just normal. Just deal with it. Or put me on an antidepressant.
Right.
That blows my mind and just really just gets me tanked that doctors will do that. Versus looking like, what's your diet like? What's your sleep patterns like? Looking at these other issues that they're common reasons for fatigue, like hormone imbalances, nutritional deficiency, lack of sleep, poor sleep hygiene. I've talked about this a bunch. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think too, a lot of people, that they're because they've got misinformation before from other doctors and whatever they prescribe didn't work, right? They get discouraged, and people are just looking for someone that they can trust. Right. And I think a lot of clinics are just more cookie cutter, and they're just giving everyone the same thing.
Yes.
And they're not getting the service and the attention that they need, and everybody's body's different. So what works for you might not work for me.
Yep.
And so you've got to be working with the right clinic, doctor, that can help you through that journey. And I think a lot of people are just scared to take that step because they have a hard time trusting because of past experiences.
Yeah.
So they just kind of sit and just say, okay, this is the way life's going to be. It's the way it's been, it's the way it's going to be, and it doesn't have to be that way. You just got to take that first step.
Take a look at your doctor. If your doctor looks like they probably have the same problems you're complaining of, I don't think they really should talk to you about health and wellness and what you should be doing.
That's a great point.
Because if they haven't taken the time to be disciplined themselves and put the time and effort, they're a physician, for goodness sakes. Right? If they're going to speak about health, they should exude it in everything that 100%. They do. They should be the example, should be the standard.
Yeah, dude, there's not many doctors that are in shape, right?
There's not.
And they're giving advice on how to take care of your body, which is kind of wild, right? It's like...
It is crazy.
It's like getting a fat trainer. Like, why would you do that?
Why would you do it? And that it drives me up a wall. But, and women really kind of, guys, it's nothing for a doctor to be like, oh, well, you're tired. Let's run your testosterone. Oh, your testosterone. Right. They don't even do that with women. They don't even give them the option. It's just like, well, you should be tired, or, you're take this antidepressant, or, and they're really kind of blown off. And so, that's the people that really we need to look at and really, because, the thing is, these generic fixes just don't work, right? Like you said, that's
Band-Aids.
the problem. It's their Band-Aids. Yep. It's not based on their physiology. It's not based on their lab testing. It's not based on them as an individual. Why do they feel the way that they do? Yeah. These doctors aren't looking at, running labs to see, okay, what are they nutritionally deficient in, right? They're not looking at labs saying specifically, is your testosterone low? Is your free T3 low? Do you have problems with DHEA? Where's your pregnenolone at? What's your iron look like, for goodness sakes? Yep. Low iron can cause all kinds of problems, and that's a very common problem with women. Yep. Low ferritin, iron deficiency, and these docs don't even look at that, right? Or they'll look at total iron, look at iron binding capacity, but they don't even look at ferritin. And their ferritin can be absolutely in the tank, and no wonder they're tired.
Right, yeah.
And so,
that goes into that.
There's so much that goes into that, but they don't want to put the time. But the other part of it probably is, these docs now are mandated. They got to see somebody every 10 minutes, man.
Yeah, so they can't spend time with you.
They can't. They really can't. Yeah. And so when you have somebody that's, yes, you're paying for it, but what you're paying for is time. You're paying for someone's wisdom, knowledge, and time to sit there and look at you and go, okay, let's look at the total package.
Yeah.
What could be contributing to your fatigue?
Right.
Is it hormonal? Is it nutritional deficiency? Is it something else that could be there, right? I mean, we've had patients that have terrible health issues, fatigue issues, and it's parasitic in nature, right? And so fatigue is multifactorial, right? And I think fatigue is probably the greatest thing that our society is having problems with. Is a lot of it diet-based? Absolutely, right? Fix the diet, you're going to feel better.
Right.
But when you look at the big picture it is a multifactorial problem. It's not a simple fix. Just generic things don't do it, right? You've got it. You can't guess. You've got to test. You've got to look to see what they're deficient in.
Right. Yeah,
And
I love that.
Yeah, and
Guess,
that's what we're
test.
you can't. Yeah, don't guess, test.
Well, it's crazy because a lot of people, I hear them, I say, oh, I saw this new supplement on TV. Yeah. And they go take it because it's going to burn fat or increase their energy or whatever it's going to be. And it's like, man, they have no idea because they've never done blood work to actually find out what's actually going inside your body. And everybody's body's different. And if you don't do that, it's impossible to know what you are deficient in and what you need to do and how to fix the problem that you're having without doing extensive blood work.
There's very seldom ever that a single supplement's going to fix your problem.
Right.
Like, again, it's a multifactorial problem, and you've got to look at all of those. You've got to have treatment protocols that encompass those, and somebody that you're talking to, a physician that knows, physician, trainer, our group, right, that knows exactly like what goes into fatigue, what do I need to look at, and then how do we fix it?
Right.
How do we address the problems at hand, right? And so that's the key to all of this is looking at somebody who looks at the system as a whole, male or female, doesn't matter.
Right.
The problems are slightly different from, based on sexes, but they're still there. And then coming up with a treatment plan that addresses all of those issues together is the key.
Right. The root cause of the issue, right? It's like a lot of people are treating things that really, they're a symptom, but they're not actually the thing that's causing the problem. Right. And so it never gets better.
Right. Yeah. And, and sleep hygiene. I mean, I tell people, it's like one thing you do tomorrow, work on sleep hygiene and hydration.
Right.
Dehydration will zap energy from you like crazy.
And it's probably what most people struggle with the most, that and sleep.
Drinking enough water.
Drinking enough water. A lot of people we deal with just have a problem drinking water.
Yeah. Yep. It's
which
huge.
Affects everything.
Yeah, affects absolutely everything. So energy level can be something, a simple fix to try. Just drink more water, right? Get better sleep. Go to bed earlier, right? Control sleep quality. Sleep hygiene goes into stay off the computer before you go to bed. Right. Stay away from TV, read, those types of things.
Yeah. Have room at a certain temperature.
Yeah, have room, prep for sleep, right? It's so important. Yeah. That's your recovery.
Right.
That's what's going to predicate the next day how much energy level you have.
Yeah.
Those are two simple things, right? That everybody can do, that they will see a difference in. But then the biggest difference is going to come from testing and looking exactly what the cause of the fatigue is. And that's definitely, I would say probably 90%, male and female coming into our office, it's a fatigue issue.
Right.
Now, are there other issues? Absolutely. Libido issues, concentration issues, generalized sleep problems, gut problems, but probably 90% of every patient that comes in, one of their complaints is fatigue.
Right.
I just don't feel good enough to get done what I need done in the day, let alone going to the gym or trying to meal prep. I just do not have the energy for that.
Yeah. Right? Or if they're not sleeping good and they're not eating right, they're not exercising, like you're just not going to feel energized.
No, and once you get those things under control, the rest. That's why we keep saying, like when you get your health under control, it 10x's everything else.
100%.
Just getting your diet under control. Then you're going to feel better, you're going to have more energy, then you can food prep, maybe go to the gym, do some of these other things. But let alone addressing hormones, nutritional deficiencies, it is a night and day difference in 6 weeks for somebody.
It
is like literally a night and day difference. Yeah. And so, but making small changes can sometimes lead to the ability of doing these other things that'll make the biggest change. But a lot of times they just don't know where to start.
Yeah, no, it's true. A lot of people, they have their routines at night or in the morning or whatever, but they're just not the right routines. Right.
Yeah.
And so they've been doing it for years, and then it's hard for them to make that adjustment. So that's why it's important to work with, companies like ours to understand, like, what are these new habits and routines that we can actually put in place that transition you to start a different lifestyle and become someone different. Become the best version of yourself, but you have to change the things that you're doing today in order to do that. Yeah. You got to start. You got to get started. You've got to make the decision to start. Because otherwise, tomorrow you're just going to get and be the same person. And then that leads to the next day, leads to the next day, to the next, and then a year from now, you still feel like you did probably worse. Yeah. Pay the cost now
and feel better later.
Right.
Or don't pay the cost now and feel worse later and pay the cost then.
You're going to pay at some point.
You're going to pay it at some point.
Right.
Right. You're going to pay it at some point. And then depending on how long you wait, the cost is going to become a lot more.
Well, most people wait until there's major problems, and then they're spending. I used to say, like, you spend first half of your life working for wealth.
Yep.
Then you spend your wealth on the next half spending on your health.
Yep.
Because you didn't take care of yourself. So at some point you're going to pay. It's better to do it now and prevent the problems from happening later and feel good along the process.
Because that's when you can be sitting like us,
That's
50
right.
years old, and
Yeah.
feel phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
chasing after grandchildren, chasing
Right.
after your kids, young
Yeah.
kids, right?
Yeah.
Working 5 a.m. till midnight,
Right.
you know, and being able to get up and do it the next day and do
Yeah.
it effectively and
Right.
do it well
Right.
over and over
That's
again,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I can run on that. You know, some people need a little bit more sleep. But again, it still runs within the parameters and confines of what you're good with, you know, what your
Yeah.
body can tolerate, right?
Yeah. Well, I
You
think
know,
when you're optimizing every area, though, like you said,
makes
even
a
if you
massive
have
difference.
4 or 5 hours of sleep, so we both own multiple businesses, there's days where we're not going to get our sleep. But because we're optimizing every other area of our life, it enables us to do things that most people wouldn't
To
do.
push through.
Because they're not in that kind of shape. And that's
Right.
what I tell people. Like, there's no way I would have built my businesses that I have built today if it wasn't for my health and fitness level, because there was so much, you know, stress and obstacles that I had to overcome and
Yeah.
put long hours in and struggle and do all these things. If I didn't take care of my body through that process, I definitely would not have the companies that I have today. Like,
Yeah.
guaranteed 100% would not have happened, because, you know, I was just in elite shape, you know,
Yeah.
and that helps in the business. That helps when you're tired and you're not feeling as sharp as maybe you
to
normally
avoid
are.
that burnout.
To avoid the burnout. So
Yeah.
you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people, like, if you're not in shape and you try to go through hard times, it is tough. Like, and that's why most people stop.
Yep, that's
You know,
why they hold
like,
back.
they
And
don't
they're just
feel
like, I
good.
can't do this anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And they don't realize too, again, avoiding that burnout is the key, because, you know, when you are in really good shape, like not necessarily just top tier physical shape.
Right.
You know, because you don't have to necessarily look like how we
Right.
look to still feel really good, right? We're just different in the fact that we're trying to be the example for everybody.
Right.
And so, you know, people don't have to look like they're like fitness gurus or whatever, right? To be healthy. You can
Right.
be really
Right.
healthy and not necessarily have lower body fat and those
Sure.
types of things,
Sure.
you know, but lower body fat's always healthier to an
Right.
extent, right?
Right.
I try to keep most people in that, you know, 12, 15, you know, women, 15, 17, 20%.
Yeah.
They look great. They feel great. You don't have to be in the lower levels. Like, but again, we want to show people we know what we're talking about.
Right.
That the knowledge and the wisdom is there to do it at 50 years old. As busy as we are, it can be done.
That's right.
So somebody that's just wanting to start can easily turn their life around and make a massive impact very quickly. You know,
100%,
very
yeah.
quickly, very quickly. So, you know, the big thing is, but avoiding that burnout, because if you're not in the shape, if you're not in good enough shape, you know, you get tired, you get
That's right.
fatigued, cortisol levels go up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then stress hormones are through the roof.
Yeah.
And then insulin starts to go up. And then that leads into this vicious cycle of just building that over and over again, which then you feel like giving up. You feel more fatigued. You feel more tired.
Feel terrible about yourself.
You feel terrible about yourself. Body fat starts to go up because of the hormonal changes, let alone if you're not affecting your diet.
Yeah.
But, you know, the adrenals are just getting overloaded, right? And so cortisol levels are going up, or they crash altogether. And so then you're putting on this weight because of your adrenal insufficiency is through the roof. And so, you know, and again, it all comes down to that fact of like, listen, your body is not able to tolerate the stress you're putting upon it.
Right.
And that's why you don't feel good. And then it's just this vicious cycle that occurs over and over.
That's right.
So, you know, that's a lot of things that, you know, one of these things that really people have to realize, like your body can adapt so much better when you're in better shape, when your diet's really good, not even great. When your diet's good and you're consistent and you're exercising consistently, how much better you can adapt and manage stress.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the biggest thing. There's been times like I can't believe the stuff I can get done still with the things going on, running the schedule I do, and I get up sometimes going, I should really feel bad today, but I don't feel pretty good.
Right.
But again, it's because of the parameters and the protocols and the things we've pushed ourselves, always trying to be better, you know, and be the example for other people, and really other people can get into that. But, you know, they've got to realize that burnout's a big issue.
Yeah, and it hits you and it's too late. That's why, you know, you see a lot of people that, especially when COVID was around, you know, a lot of people, you know, lose their life, right? And I always said, like, if you're in elite shape or you're not, if you're way out of shape and you get COVID, like, it's harder for you to recover.
Way harder.
Whereas if someone that's in shape is just going to have a better chance to recover from that.
Immune system's going to be working better, and
so
if you're in better shape, your nutritional status is probably better. So
you may be fine until you're sick. Once you're sick, you have a hard time recovering. because you just don't have the juice. You don't have the
Right.
the things inside your body that's going to help pull you through that. I really believe that's why a lot of people,
Well,
once they get sick,
true.
they're done.
It's just,
they
a
cannot
downhill spiral.
recover.
It's a downhill spiral.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, and again, it's that, the adrenals are burnt out, nutritionally they're done.
Yeah.
Everything else in their body is just capped out.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And then they don't have the knowledge base to recover of going, okay, how can I eat better?
Yeah.
How can I do these things? What can I supplement better? Is exercise going to help me right now, or is exercise going to further stress me out?
Right.
There are patients I say, I don't want you exercising right now.
It's too overwhelming
Your
for 'em.
cortisol levels are too high. Even though exercise is a good stressor, it's still a stressor. Right. And so I've got patients coming in all the time going, I don't understand. My diet's here, that it's great. They're exercising 2.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can tell you why you don't feel good. Like, I'm a pro, like I don't exercise that much.
Yeah.
Like, even with working out a resistance day and then maybe doing some cardio, at most I've got an hour and a half in. Why are you working out 2.5 hours?
Right.
You're stressing, you're putting your body through so much stress you can't recover.
Yeah.
And your nutrition's not there to support it. Lifestyle's not there to support it. Sleep's not there to support it. And so then what are they saying? They're saying their sex hormones are tanking, right? So their estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, both men and women are in the tank, have no libido. Again, and all of that's based on burnout, overuse, too much work without recovery. And so those are issues, again, we will address with our clients as well too, because lifestyle is a huge issue.
100%, yeah.
And lifestyle really plays into it. So you've got to address that. Again, looking at the patient as a whole, you've got to address the lifestyle issue. And make them realize, like, again, like I said, I've had numerous patients come in, like, I don't want you exercising for a couple weeks. I want you to get your nutrition. I want you to get your diet. And trust me, if your diet's in place, you're not going to worry about gaining weight. You're right. If you're eating the way you should, if you're eating healthy, things will level out. Let's get your cortisol back to where it should be. Let's get your stress life balance worked out. Then let's talk about, exercising. Or patients come in, they're in the same position, they want to go on like semaglutide or something like that. I'm like, time out. No, that's going to be another stressor. You're not going to want to eat when you take that. Like, that's just, let's get overall levels of health. Let's get your diet squared away. Let's look at some of these other, then talk about that.
Yeah.
Because these patients that are in the tank that badly, that's just another stressor.
Yeah, you got to start slow and small.
You have to start slow and small. And that is really a big thing that that we'll work with our clients and our patients with on that. It's like literally looking at the overall picture of their life.
Yeah.
How they can really go back with discipline, go back. What are the important things? What are your priorities, right? Let's focus on those. Let's some of these other things. Let's focus on the relationship with your kids, your spouse, obviously your health, because that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Gut health, diet, those types of things. Let some of these other things slide for a little bit.
Right.
Don't necessarily worry about the exercise for right now.
Right.
So, it's not like we're telling everybody, you have to exercise, you have to exercise, you have to exercise. That works into it, and that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But we've got to get health squared away for a lot of these patients first, a lot of our clients coming in, and that makes a massive difference. So that's something, the adrenal burnout is definitely an issue that we'll address, if you come on as a client of ours, and we're working with you, because that is a big issue.
Right. Yeah.
And that can impact every other aspect of your life too. Yeah. So, that's one thing that I definitely like to put out there, how important dealing with stress is.
Right.
Because, I can have patients come in relatively good hormonal levels, but their stress is through the roof, and no wonder they don't feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at the adrenal, so that's something, again, that we'll look at on a regular basis with all these patients, covering them as they come in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's key what you said around the lifestyle and understanding each person individually, because I think a lot of people just skip right past that part, and they're just, prescribing things to take, but really not understanding everything else that's going on in someone's life and what's going to be realistic for them.
Yeah.
And then it's just, it's the wrong game plan for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely patients to not be on some kind of GLP-1 peptide, whether it be, semaglutide, tirzepatide, whatever it is.
Right.
They're not a candidate for it. If they're coming in, they're not already eating correctly and not eating enough, and you put them on that, it's just going to make the problem worse. It's not going to help them. It's not going to balance their blood sugars. It's just going to be another major stressor. Now, somebody that's coming in and doing everything they can pretty well, right? Hormones are decent. Their diet's decent. They're exercising. They've got high blood sugars, high levels of insulin. They're trying to eat right, but they can't manage it. Then those types of peptides are great choices for them.
Right.
Or somebody that's coming in and they're just literally a raging diabetic because of how poor their diet is, how high their insulin levels are, how much their inflammation is up. Those are great candidates for it. But again, that comes down to, we're not going to do that. We're going to look at somebody and say, are you a candidate? Is this what's best for you? Right. This isn't about we're not out for end pictures, right?
Right.
And these client transformations. What we're out for is like somebody going, man, I have never felt better in my life.
Right.
Right. And that's everybody's going to vary on how they look at that.
That's
but the big thing is the end game. What we want is somebody to be able to say, I've never felt better.
That's right.
Than I do right now.
Yeah.
And then that gives them the ground forward, working forward, to look at their physique, continue to try to improve all the time.
Yeah.
But that is a great point, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is something that, that's, again, part of that individualized component that we don't rush through. We actually sit down and we're going to look at everybody and really give them the proper time to address all the issues that they've got, to make sure that they are literally like the next, the next generation of themselves, the next gen human for who they are.
Right.
Because there is, and that's constantly changing, right? This next gen is going to get better. Like every time they can improve. Who knows? I'd like to see clients that are on next gen level 7, 8.
Right.
Because they've improved, they've gotten better. We look at hormones again. We look at lifestyle. Make it, improve it, make it better. Do that for 6 or 8 months, come back, revisit it, make improvements again. So you're constantly evolving as an individual, right?
Yeah.
And that comes into, and I know you've done a lot of podcasts on really self-development too, right? And looking at yourself and ways you can improve yourself, your thought processes, your mindset, because that's huge. That works into it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a thought and just slipped my mind there. I was saying too, like, a lot of people, like, obviously there's a cost to health and one way or the other.
There's always,
But you see people not wanting to go through this process for a lot of reasons. Again, they don't trust or they're skeptical or whatever. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there around, what we're doing, right? Or a lot of other places as well. But, you'll find people that say they can't afford it, but yet they're going and spending money on other things, beer,
alcohol, Starbucks,
and
junk food, whatever,
or weed, or all the things that really doesn't help move their life.
100 video channels that they don't even watch.
Right. Yeah. So if you audited all the things you spend your money on, and you could just take a little bit of that and put it towards your health, like your life would change. And just so many people, I think they're just not in that mindset. So it's like, how do we get them to understand that? Right?
Well, and that's the thing is, everybody prioritizes health. They just don't know it.
That's right.
Because I think 1,000%, you sit 100 people down and say, I'll give you $1 million right now, but if I give you that $1 million, you're going to die in 4 months.
Yeah.
Like 100% assured, you will die in 4 months if I give you this $1 million. Or I cannot give you this $1 million. I'll guarantee you're going to live the next 30 years and you're going to feel great and you're going to feel healthy. 1,000%, you know what they're going to say? I'll take not taking the $1 million.
Yeah.
And for the next 30 years, now I'm going to feel good. I'm going to be able to accomplish a lot more because of my health. And no one's going to take that.
Yeah.
No one is. No one's going to say, oh, yeah, I'll take the $1 million. No, I'm going to die in 4 months. No one's going to do that.
Well, and everybody will say health is most important, right? It's just like they'll say their family's most important. But when you look at their schedule and what they spend their money on, it's actually the two things that
prioritize
are least important.
Yes.
So if you say your health is top, right, because it needs to be, because you can't take care of anybody else if you're not taken care of, it's the last thing on the list actually they're spending their money on. And the same thing most of the time with your family.
Yes.
People put that at the top, and it's next to the last on the list.
Or the other thing is, too, guys especially they'll think, hey, my job is to provide financial resources for the family. And they kill themselves working to build this wealth, like you said earlier, but then their family life is terrible.
Yeah.
Right? And they think they're doing the right thing, and they let their health go to the side, right? They're not taking care of themselves because they're just thinking work, money, work, money, work, money. But then if they have a heart attack when they're 40,
right,
what have they really done for their family, right? And so again, it goes back to that, what you said earlier. They spend the first half of their life worrying about wealth, not worrying about their health. And the last half, they're going, oh, crap, I'm in trouble.
Right.
And health becomes a priority, and the wealth doesn't.
Yeah.
Switch that around, right? You can absolutely be wealthy, you can work a lot, and you can concentrate on your health and your family.
Yeah.
It just comes down to how you prioritize.
You can have it all.
You absolutely, 100%
can have it all.
Everybody can.
Yeah.
You've just got to put the prioritizations in for the things that are important and cut out the things that don't get you where you want to be.
Right. And most people just don't have priorities, and that's the problem. It's like they see this coming in, this looks good, I'll try this, I'll do this, and they really have no vision on what they want their life to look like. So
or who they want to be.
Or who they want to be. So therefore, everything gets in the way of that, right? But if you know that, you understand what your life needs to be, then you put blinders on. If it doesn't align with that you're trying to accomplish, it's taking you away from your goals.
Yeah.
And that's what I see the most. And a lot of times it's because they really don't have a goal. They really don't understand what they want their life to look like, their health to look like. Because if you knew that and you know exactly what that is, then you start acting and behaving as that right now, and you make totally different decisions.
Completely.
Like if you really cared
Yes.
about your health at the top and you knew that was what you wanted to be, you would start immediately making different decisions.
Looking at the foods you eat, getting and paying for the education. If you don't know how to start, pay for somebody to tell you, like, this is where you start.
Right.
And so, yeah, again, it just comes down to, sometimes I think it's just an act of like omission. In fact, they think they're doing these other things.
Right.
Which is what's most important, but it's not. Like with our experiences and where we're at in life, I can tell you, like, the money is not really what's the important thing.
Right.
If you do everything right, money will flow.
That's right.
But if you're doing everything to serve other people and help other people and give your knowledge base of what you're good at to help other people, the money's going to be there,
That's
right? And you're not having to sacrifice all these other things. But again, it comes down to, I think it's just what people think that this is what they're supposed to do, right? Mothers are another one. I mean, they do all this stuff for their husband, for their kids. They don't prioritize their diet. They don't prioritize them exercising. And again, they're 40 years old. They feel terrible about themselves. They look in the mirror. They don't have a self-respect. Right? Low self-esteem because they're not happy. But again, they don't have the picture of this is the ideal of who I want to be. Right? And they don't have that picture. They don't have an idea of what that is. And without that self-identity, they have nowhere to go. They don't know where they want to go.
That's right.
And again, when they get up in the morning, if they don't know what that is, what's the drive, right? Other than, I mean, most people, when you say, listen, if you don't address this, you're not going to be around for your grandkids. That's going to hit home. I mean, but when I've got blood metrics in front of me, I can say, listen, right here, if you do not fix this, you are not going to make it to see your grandkids be born, right? Or you are not going to make it to see this happen in your life that is very important to you. And all of a sudden that starts to, because these blood values don't lie, right? They are what they are. You can't fake them. It's not me saying,
data doesn't lie.
Yeah, data doesn't lie, right? Oh, this is terrible. Oh, you got to do this. It's set. It is right there. And so sometimes I think when they get the lab work back and they can say, oh yeah, okay, wow, that's really bad. Then that makes them realize, okay, I do have to make a change. And then they can actually picture, okay, if I have to make a change, who do I want to be? Like, what's the person I want to become, right? And so I think that makes a difference. But again, it's changing mindsets of this is just not good enough, right? Being miserable is never good enough. That's the thing is people, I don't feel good. Well, if you don't feel good, that's not good, right? That is never acceptable. Male, female, age, doesn't matter. If you don't feel good, you've got to make a change. Otherwise, that's just going to continue to compound, snowball, and you're going to feel worse all the time. But again, having that picture of who you want to be, like where do you want your life to be? And then dedicating everything you've got to that.
That's right.
Right? I mean, because otherwise you're just wasting time. Because you'll never make it if you're wasting time doing all these other things. Be very, very laser focused on this is what I want my life to. This is what I want my health to look like. This is what I want my relationship with my spouse, husband, wife, significant other to look like. This is what I want my relationship with my kids to look like. This is what the business I've never started I want to be. This is what I want it to be. But they've got to start now. But they've got to start, and you've got to feel good to get all those things done. I mean, that's why I tell people over and over, and I know you do too. You get your health in line, it will 10x everything else, because the discipline you will establish by getting your health there. Because it's not easy, it's work. And a lot of people, I think, are just scared of the work that's going to the cost that they're going to have to pay. But that cost they're going to have to pay now is nothing compared to the cost that they'll pay later if they don't do it.
That's right.
And so that's the big thing. They've got to see. That's what's great about lab work, right? And the testing that we do is we can show that. Say, listen, if you don't, but you're not going to know that if you don't step in and do it. And so, that's definitely a big aspect of it, and so, and then that leads into, like you said, people, there's so much bad information out there. I mean, like fitness myths are.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I get people call me all the time going, man, I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm sick of doing cardio. Well, cardio doesn't necessarily equate to fat loss anyway. So why are you doing all that cardio? Like, why did somebody tell you, why are you doing 2 hours of cardio or an hour of cardio every day? Right, and people don't even begin to realize, like, the resistance training is what's most vastly important over cardio every day of the week. Your body's going to respond to cardio, so the only way you can do more cardio and have effect is do more cardio.
Right.
Where weightlifting, you go in for an hour, things become easy. You just add more weight. It doesn't increase the time that you have to do it. And when you look at long term, I mean, most people don't know, and I tell patients this all the time. As a female over 40, if you're not resistance training 4 times a week, 30 minutes, you lose 3.75% of your muscle mass per year.
Just crazy.
And you think, 3.75 in a year, that's not bad. But that's from 40 to 50. You've lost 37% of your muscle mass.
It's nuts.
So even if you started at 100% at 40, which you don't have at 40, right? if you're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
And that means by the time you're 50, you're down almost to like 70% of the muscle mass you had. And then you go from 50 to 60, then you're down to 40%, actually less than 40%, right? Then by the time you actually hit 70 years old, you're not able to do anything on your own. You're having to have people help you walk around. You're in a wheelchair. What kind of quality of life is that? You know, that's terrible for women. And so women have to resistance train. And the fitness myth that drives me nuts, I don't want to get big.
Yeah.
Women are not, I'm going to tell you, women are never going to get
I
big.
don't look like a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, they're never going to get big. The only reason bodybuilders get big is because the PEDs they're taking. Women are not built to get big. They don't have the hormones to get big. They just don't have the physiology to get big, right?
Yeah.
That is, and that drives me up a wall, is that's such a big myth out there that, hey, if I work out, I'm going to get big. No, you're going to get some toned muscle. You're going to drop body fat. You're going to look better. You're going to feel better. You're going to prevent osteoporosis, right? We know that carrying heavy things, lifting heavy things for women absolutely increases bone mineral density, right? So you're going to increase your bone mineral density, decrease risk of fracture. You're going to increase your muscle mass, decrease the muscle loss, stop it. That's going to happen if you don't do something about it.
Yeah.
It will happen, right? Guys, because of testosterone, ours is like 2.46%. Per year. So it's a little bit less. It's still horrible though. I mean, you're still looking at 24% loss in a 10-year period every year that you're not doing the resistance training.
That's why you see older people look frail and
and they are not look frail. They are frail.
Right.
I mean, like
they're gonna break.
they can't do anything for themselves. They have no muscle mass. They look like literally if you blow on them, they'll fall over.
Yeah.
What kind of quality of life is that? Yeah, you can't chase your grandkids around. You can't even drive yourself. I mean, you can't get up, cook for yourself. You got to have somebody help you take you to the bathroom. Like, that's not the quality of life I want for anybody.
Right.
You know, and again, guys don't have that much issue as far as the bone mineral density loss, right? Because we've got other systems built in to keep that from happening. But it's still a concern if your diet's terrible. You know, those are things, lifting heavy weight, and that's going to vary for guys and for women. But, you know, having heavy weight on you 3 or 4 times a week is going to prevent that bone mineral density loss, especially if your nutrition's where it is, right? If you're not doing things like carrying heavy weights, women are going to get osteoporosis, especially with the fact if their diet's terrible, right? Yeah. And so again, these are things that lifting heavy weights that's such a terrible myth out there for women. Going along with the best way to lose weight is cardio. No, it is not.
Yeah.
That's
what everybody thinks.
That's what everybody thinks, and they think they've got to do it for hours. And we're talking, you know, we're telling people like, listen, an hour, right, a day, resistance training, 4 days a week, walk for a half an hour. Superb exercise, right? Zone 2, have a conversation that's difficult. If you're talking, it's difficult. You're in zone 2 cardio. You're burning fat for 30 minutes walking. You're out in the open air. You're getting sunshine, even if it's a bad day out. Being out in the fresh air, your body responds to that physiologically. We know that happens, right? There are good things to being outside. And so getting outside and walking. But you don't have to be in the gym for 2.5 hours every day.
Right.
I completely discourage it. It's too much stress on somebody. You don't need to be doing that.
Right.
But those are, you know, that's a lot of those myths. And then, you know, you don't, and women are like, I don't want to have to go in. I don't want to have to sweat. I don't want to have to suffer to succeed. You don't. You know, if you want to be at an elite level, that's a different ballgame.
Right, right.
Our workouts this morning were brutal, right? I mean, they hurt. They were tough, but we're at a different level. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We're not telling people they need to be where we're at.
Right, right.
We're just saying you need to be as healthy as you possibly can be, and that's going to be different for everybody. But you don't have to suffer to get healthy.
Right.
Right? I mean, there's a ton of good foods that you can have and eat healthy and enjoy life.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't have to give up quality of life to eat healthy.
Right.
It doesn't.
Not chicken and broccoli every day.
No, it's not. Now, when you're up in that upper level, maybe a little bit, but it's really not even then.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it comes down to proteins, fats, and carbs. For your physiology, what should those levels be set at? And then really that's important, finding somebody that knows what they're doing.
Right.
To set those levels for you. And you hit those levels, you're going to make improvements every week, no matter what. You exercise on top of that, it gets even better. What's so hard about that?
Right.
And when we're saying number of fats, proteins, and carbs, I'm not saying eliminate. I'm just saying hit these markers.
Right.
As long as you hit these markers, I don't really care what you eat. Now, the healthier you eat within those, right, you're going to see improvements, and you're going to see, but it's not like meal 1, hey, I got to suffer. Meal 2, I've got to eat this that I hate. Meal 3, I've got to eat this that I hate. You can eat all the foods that you like. It's just how you eat them, when you eat them, and those types of things. And I know that's the kind of programming you're doing with your clients too.
Yeah, it's a misconception, I think, that you got to just eat these things over and over again, and, and you're going to have a miserable life, which I think is why a lot of people they get discouraged from even starting,
Or
especially
the
when
other
they
thing
see
is,
someone in great shape. It's like, oh, they're just doing this, this, and this. They must be miserable.
yeah, they don't have the structure and the consistency is the other thing.
Right.
They'll do it for 2 or 3 days, then blow it for 2 or 3 days.
yeah.
Or they'll do it great, and then they'll drink 20 beers on the weekend
Right.
because they're out on the boat or whatever.
Right.
And they don't realize how damaging alcohol is to the weight loss process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, that's what people don't realize. They think it's, alcohol is not necessarily the calories from the alcohol. They're terrible. I mean, it's 7 calories, just under fat, right?
Right.
Carbs are 4 ounces, proteins are 4 ounces, alcohol 7.
Yeah.
So it's well above carbs and proteins. It is a little bit below fat. So the calories are an issue, but the main issue people don't realize, like really when you're drinking alcohol, it is so toxic to the brain that when you drink alcohol, everything in your body shuts off other than getting that alcohol out. And so I'll get patients all the time going, yeah, I'm great during the week. I just don't understand. Like,
just
I'm
drink
not
on the
losing weight.
weekends.
What are you doing on the weekends? Like, yeah, their structure and the consistency is not there on the weekends. They're sitting there. Their diet goes terrible on the weekend. They're out on the boat. They're drinking beer. They're drinking wine. You can have beer and wine. You've got to limit it, right? You've got to time it so that you're not eating while you're doing it.
Right.
So I'm not busting on somebody that wants to have a cold beer every now and then. Great, have a cold beer. But it's the problem of how many cold beers you have.
Right. How often are you doing it?
And how often are you doing it, right? And so, I'll see these guys, all the time come in, great. Monday through Friday, buddy, they are on it. And then they blow it on the weekends. And they think, well, I was good 5 days. I can be bad for 2. No, you can't. You can blow an entire week of gains in 2 bad days.
Yeah.
All it takes is one meal at P.F. Chang's and you can blow your entire fat loss for a week. One cheat meal can blow it depending on where you eat. There are literally P.F. Chang's meals that are 3,500 to 4,200 calories for that one meal. A pound of fat is 3,500 calories. You literally can blow your entire gains in one meal. So again, it comes down, structure and consistency it's used, but you don't have to suffer. You just got to be consistent in what you do every day, in and out.
Yeah.
And then if you're good all of those days, can you have a meal maybe here and there that you vary a little bit? You and I were talking. You go out to dinner with your wife. You want to have something a little different or whatever. It's still not going to. Once you're in good shape, you get to be rewarded.
That's right.
You don't get the rewards though till you're there.
Yeah. And I think too, depending on what level people come in, I've noticed this working with different folks is. If they're way out of shape and they've just got everything, they've got no good routines, or they're just not eating anything really healthy, is to start them off small.
Yes, small
and not
changes.
give them
overload
everything that they need to do, and then they're like, this is I can't do this, right? It's like, can you drink water every morning when you wake up? Start them off small, and then gradually, once they cut out the soft drinks, and then you cut out this, instead of cutting everything out at one time.
Yeah.
To me, that's been an easier way for, again, depending on what level where you're coming in at, is how we structured that program.
Substitute
to get you
good
to where
things for bad things. Yeah.
You can actually stay with it, celebrate some wins along the way, see you can do this, and then each week you're progressing, dialing in those habits and routines so it actually can stick and work
and
for you.
typically, as they feel better, they want to do that.
Right.
Because they're like, man, I feel better doing this. What else can I do? Because they start to see, and the mindset starts to change, and they can start seeing the changes in their life, as far as their energy levels and those types of things.
Yeah.
So they even start asking the questions. But there are some people definitely that small substitutions, changing out the bad for the good for a couple things here and there. Then the next week, do a few more of those.
That's right.
And a lot of people, it starts with alcohol, soda, sugar. Sugar is a killer, man.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
Sugar is an absolute killer. And most people have no idea how much sugar they're taking.
No idea.
Because it's in everything. For goodness sakes, there's a teaspoon of sugar in one serving of ketchup.
Yeah.
A whole teaspoon in a serving of ketchup. And most people have no clue that has it, right? They don't realize that sugar is in so many different things.
Right. Yeah.
They think that they're having some, vinegar and salt, they'll have vinegar and some type of vinaigrette, right? Olive oil and vinaigrette. And then they don't realize, hey, are you reading the label on that vinaigrette? Because a lot of those vinaigrettes will have 5 to 8 grams of sugar in it. That's over a teaspoon of sugar per serving, right? And so sugar is highly inflammatory, right? It damages everything. It stops all of that stuff. Horrible for weight loss. Because it spikes your insulin, and if insulin's elevated, fat oxidation chops. You're not.
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to managing sugar. And most people just have no idea how much sugar they're taking in. And they think some of the things they're actually eating are good for them, but they're loaded with sugar and they're eating them all the time.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm not saying sugar can't be taken in moderation, but when you're having 60, 70, 80 grams of sugar in a day, so you'd be talking somewhere like almost 20 teaspoons of sugar daily. Like who in their right mind would sit there and go, that's good for me?
In a month's time and
then
a
you look
year's
up,
time, and
what's that go? Yeah.
that compound effect.
Yeah.
From having 1 teaspoon every day.
From 1 teaspoon. I mean, so yeah, those things definitely are things that you can trade out slowly. But then the other part of it is just being aware.
Yeah.
And most people just aren't aware, right?
Yeah.
And so then the other side of that is those people that coming in and think that they can starve themselves and lose fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get people coming in the clinic all the time going, I've stagnated in weight loss. It was great. I lost weight for a while, and now I can't lose any weight.
Yeah.
I'm still 60 pounds heavier than I want to be. I don't understand. And the first thing I'll ask is, okay, like, so what's your diet like? And they're living on like 600 calories. You know, they're starving themselves thinking their body will burn fat doing that, and it doesn't work that way.
Right.
They've shut their metabolism off. They've shut their mitochondria off.
Which go backwards.
And they're actually going backwards. They're actually eating less and gaining weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every system to utilize energy processes has shut down.
Yeah.
Because your body like literally is in starvation survival mode.
Yeah. Well, that's why you'll see people work with certain people, and they'll go through these crash diets. They'll lose a bunch of weight. 6 months later, they're twice the size that they were when they started.
Or what kills me, they go through these diets that are out there and say, I don't want you working out while you're on this diet.
Right.
What? That tells you you're way, way under calories for it to be healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, in our hometown, there's a doc has this big weight loss program, right? And I mean, these people are living on 600 to 800 calories a day. They've got to buy the box meals that they sell, right? And he emphasizes, I don't want you working out while you're doing this.
Wow.
It won't be good for you to work out. Well, that should be a red flag for somebody to go, wait a minute. Why is it not good for me to work out? Like the best thing for my health I could do 95% of the time is work out.
Yeah.
Why should I not be working out if I'm on this diet? Like no one asked that question. And it's because you have so few calories. If you work out, you're going to get into a danger zone for your cortisol, your adrenals. It's a massive stress. You're going to go way backwards. You'll probably put on weight, which most of them do anyway, because they've learned nothing about dieting because they've been eating box foods.
That's right.
They haven't been taught about nutrition. They come off of these programs and their weight goes through the roof. You know, I mean, it's an anabolic rebound. Your body's been starving, and then when it starts getting that food in, you know what it says? I'm going to store all of this. I'm going to hold all this I can, because who knows when this is going to, it's a survival mode, right? And so, yeah, I mean, so that's another misconception that drives me up a wall is I can starve myself and I'll lose fat, right? No, the first thing you do if you starve yourself, you're going to lose muscle mass.
Right.
The body will preferentially chew up muscle and use it for energy over fat because it's easier.
Right.
It'll target muscle mass before fat any day of the week if you're not set up and you're not telling it to specifically, I want you to oxidize fat.
Right.
If you're just starving yourself, you're going to chew up muscle left and right. And so, yeah, I mean, that's another fitness myth that, you know, people out there is another, I don't want to have to starve myself, you know, and that's why they won't move forward. They're worried about these consequences they made up, and really it becomes an excuse.
That's right.
But part of it probably is a lot of misinformation. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of it. So I think part of it is that what we do, I think, well, is creating their confidence in the outcomes of the program, that they can make it through it, right? That they're not going to have to suffer, that we're going to do lab work, we're going to find out deficiencies, and so that, you know, that we can build their confidence, they can be successful. Right. And really, really speak into them that this is going to work, right? Because we know it will. And so when we're acting with confidence, going like, this is going to be great, you're going to feel better, like this process is going to work, we're going to find what you're dealing with as far as deficiencies, hormone imbalances, these types of things. And when you address, you're going to feel better just doing that.
Address that, nutrition, training, sleep,
it's
hydration,
massive,
like your life changes completely.
Yeah, and body image. I mean, that's the other thing too. When you start seeing your body change, especially women, when you start seeing body image change and they start going, wow, I'm looking better, that mindset starts to go, wow, I'm looking better. Wow, I'm looking better. They're proud of themselves, right? All of a sudden, they don't feel as bad about themselves because they're looking and they want more of that.
That's right.
Right? Guys don't have as much of a self-confidence issue. I mean, dad bods are in, whatever, right? You know, but so, you know, I don't ever get that, but, you know, guys don't have as much of a self-confidence. Women get beat up. I feel sorry for teenage girls with TikTok and all this BS, because these people that are built the way they're built, they're on PEDs. Some of them probably are starving themselves.
Right.
They're not enjoyable to be around because they're so undercaloried. Like they don't have any, they don't feel good, right? But yet they're putting out these videos. They're famous influencers, but they're not healthy. Yeah. And these young women don't realize that, right? Yeah. Like women in sub 12% body fat are not healthy individuals. They've stopped their period. Their hormones have shut off. Yeah. So, you know, that's another. So the self-image is huge for these people when they start seeing success. You know, and that, I think that speaking into them and making them see the big picture goes a long way with that. But then when they start actually seeing those results, that's massive, right? And then making sure that they're avoiding those, you know, crash diets always make you feel worse. Yeah. You know, you might lose the weight, but you never feel better about yourself when you're done, because crash diets you crash. That's what you're talking about. You feel worse after the fact. You don't feel any better. You might look in the mirror and go, I feel great, but I can't live like this.
Right.
And so again, they stagnate. They feel a little bit hopeless. They definitely feel discouraged because again, they've not done it right.
Yeah.
And then, but that body image is like really like a major thing. I think that we've got to help people see how they want to look, which then equates to how they're going to feel.
That's right. Yeah.
But across the board, if you get somebody healthy, their weight will equalize to where they look good and they feel good.
Yeah.
And that's going to be different for everybody. When they say, hey, listen, I look good enough, I really feel good, I'm happy with where I am, right? Not everybody's going to push themselves to always try to be better. As long as they feel really good and they can tell a difference, we could be happy with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Again,
That's what you
we're
want.
not going to be about these transformation pictures of you're going to be absolutely shredded or it's a fail. No, what we want for somebody is you to get looking good, but then number one, the best how you've ever felt in your life.
Do you like yourself better?
Do you like yourself?
That's the point.
Right. And the people around you, do they like you better because you have more energy? You're definitely more cheerful. You're smiling more. You feel good. Like, you can tell a difference when a person walks in the room and they feel good. You can tell it.
Big difference.
You can tell when somebody
You
walks
can tell
in.
when they don't, right?
Yeah, you can tell immediately when they don't.
Yeah.
But when somebody walks in the room, they're self-confident. They feel good about themselves. They hold themselves differently. They talk differently. They speak differently. They have a different standard. And that can be in a 6-month period. You can have a person go from somebody that they look in the mirror and have like almost detest themselves and how they look. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
They're mad at themselves.
Yeah.
They know that they've gotten a point that they feel like there's no return. 6 months later, they could be the person walking in the room. People go, "Wow, what's that person know?"
Yeah.
I mean, so those are some things I think that really that will set us apart as next gen human. With our clients and the people that we're going to work about. Again, we keep going over. It's the whole person.
Right.
Discipline, and leading, right, in their family too, because whoever it is, men or women, if you're setting the example, your family will follow.
That's right.
You've seen it in your kids, right? The people we hang about, they hang around that have gotten in shape. They can't talk about how much, and they can't talk enough about how much it's impacted their wives or their husbands, their kids, and your kids respect you more. They see you putting the effort in, male or female, it doesn't matter. Kids know, right? Now, they're going to complain when you start changing the foods in the house because it's not healthy. Kids are going to do that.
Yeah.
Just smoke it over, but then you don't have to, there's nothing wrong with kids having little things here and there.
Sure, yeah.
But, overall trying to be healthy. But, really, people respect when you walk in the room and you feel better about yourself, they're going to respect you more.
Yeah, and you got to think, too, if you got kids, I know it's important for me, I know it is for you, that my kids know the standard that I've set in my family. So being in shape,
absolutely,
personal development, taking care of the family, going to church, like all these things are so important to teach, your kids. Because as parents, we're setting the standard. So if you're watching this and you don't like the way you look and feel, like that's the standard that you're setting for your kids.
Yes, your kids will will follow that.
And so you got to ask yourself, like, if you're not doing it for you, do it for your kids.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't really sit and think like that. And the reason I'm so passionate about fitness and health is because a lot of people in my family are not healthy. And I see what it's doing
to their relationships.
To their relationships. And it's just like, I'm not going to be in that position. And again, my kids are growing up and they understand like health is important. Take care of yourself is important. And that's, so you gotta set new standards in your life. But again, it's never too late.
No.
To start, but just know if you have kids, you got to ask yourself, like, do you want your kids to grow up and look like you and be like you? And if the answer is no,
like you
and feel like you, and if the answer is no, then you need to take action and change that.
Yep, set the standard for your family.
Because everybody we talked about is a walking billboard.
Yes.
And then ask yourself, would you buy the advertisement that you're placing out there to the world? And if the answer is no, and that means something to you, you have to take action and change.
Yes.
And how do you do that? Well, figure out what that looks like for you. Figure out how to find, someone that you can work with, and that can help you through that process. And then sometimes that's going to be making hard decisions in your life too, right?
It definitely
the people that you're hanging around, the circle of influence that is surrounding you. It's, if you're around people that are always eating, bad foods and not taking care of themselves and they're not working out and they're just doing all the things that, you really don't want to do, like it's going to be very difficult for you to change your lifestyle in that environment. So for me, it's like your environment is everything. Like if you fix that and the people you're around and you get around people that are healthy, if that's what you want, or have a great marriage and a great business and faith and all these things, like find people that you can surround yourself with that align with that. And if you just do that, you'll level up, and maybe you'll bring somebody else up with you. But it's almost impossible when you're trying to do it when you're in the wrong environment around the wrong people.
If you're just surrounded by mediocrity that's not trying to better themselves.
Yeah, and then you don't know.
Yeah.
Again, your mindset is, well, this is normal, because you don't know any different.
Right.
And that's why who you're around will determine the life you get, because you get around the right people at a different level, in different areas. Like, they'll stretch your mindset, they'll stretch you to think, they'll get you to see things differently. And then once your perspective changes on certain things, your life will start to change. And so many people, I think, struggle with that because they're just around the wrong people, man. Like, they're just around the wrong people.
Out. And those people aren't helping them to elevate themselves either. Right.
So if you're around them and you don't want their life, you don't want their marriage, you don't want the finances that they have and the body they have, then what are you? You're wasting your time.
Probably the wrong circle.
Being close with these people. It doesn't mean you can't love them.
Right.
But you can't spend 90% of your people with them. You can maybe spend 10%, right? But you're going to have to make those decisions, because you're making the decision one way. You're making the decision that your life's going to be like this, which is what you're saying you don't want, or you want to go this way. But you're going to have to make a choice.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people do. Your life is limited by the people that you surround yourself with.
1,000%.
Now, you might be able to do some things, but you are going to be limited, because you're not going to have the support structure. You're not going to have the network. You're not going to have people that can talk, that can actually help elevate you, or when you're having problems, because they're dealing with all that themselves, and they don't even know how to get out of it, right?
They don't,
They don't, and that's the problem. They don't know how to get out of the relationship that they're having problems with, or not really get out of it, but fix that issue, right? How to get out of that problem.
Right.
In a relationship with their spouse, with whatever, they don't know how to get out of the problems with their health, right? And they're not making any effort to do it. They're just doing the same thing every day. That's what they've known. That's what they do. And they're not really trying to improve themselves.
And wonder why their life's not changing.
And they wonder why their life's not changing. They're not putting the time, the effort. They don't have the discipline. They don't really care about it. And so if you're hanging around those people, you'll never progress either.
Right.
I mean, you are only as good as the people you surround yourself. I mean, how many times you see sports teams all the time that are great sports teams playing a terrible team, and they play down to that level. Pro athletes do this.
Right.
Pro athletes
that
succumb
should tell
to
you
this.
something right there. Yeah.
Pro athletes succumb to this. Division I college teams will do this.
Yeah.
They play down because they're surrounded by a team that's way worse than them.
Yeah.
And they take it for granted, and they play down to that level.
Yeah.
And these you're talking about top tier athletes.
Right.
Let alone a human being surrounded by people that they're invested in personally, right? And in a relationship with, and these people, they're going to bring you down. They can't elevate you. If you don't surround yourself with people pictured as the person you want to be, you will never become that person.
Right.
It's impossible.
Yeah. You can't attract what you're not either.
No, you can't.
So everybody that's where they're at, you've attracted that in your life by the standards and the routines and the habits you've set, and the people you've been around, the environment you're in. That's why you're the way you're at.
Even me, where I'm at with the business success I've had, the physical success I've had, I'm constantly looking for people that I can be around, that I want to learn from.
That's right.
Learn from you, learn from Jack, that, all these people around here, people around the Elliott Group in Scottsdale here, right? The Brotherhood, these things.
Yeah.
But there's people outside of that scope too that are great people at what they do, right? And those are the people I want to hang out with, because they make me want to be better. When I'm around better people, and sometimes better at me in things, and I want that. I want people to be better than me, because it makes me want to be better myself.
Yeah.
If you're around somebody that's got a phenomenal relationship with your spouse, you inherently want to be more like that if you don't have it.
Right.
Right, and then if that triggers you, then hopefully you're going to do the work to say, okay, listen, what do I have to do? What's the game plan? What's the strategy to get to the point of having that relationship with my spouse, right? Same thing with your business, with your health. But if you're not in that group, you are never going to take that step.
And the right group too, the winners, like they want to help you win.
They're going to pull you with them, absolutely.
If they see you're committed and you're like I want to do this, like they'll help you. Winners want to see other people's win.
Yeah.
Losers don't want to see you.
They're jealous.
Right? And most of the time it's the people that you spent most of your time with in life, your friends, and then they see you go down a different path, and they're like, "Oh, you've changed.
You think you're better than us."
It's called growth.
Yeah.
And you're just not growing.
Yeah.
So I got to pivot and go somewhere else. And this is, why I moved from North Carolina to Arizona.
Like
was a similar
that doesn't
thing.
mean you don't love them.
No, it doesn't mean that, or it doesn't mean they're not great people. It just means that we're just not aligned on where we're going.
Yeah.
So anything that I'm doing that's not aligned with where I'm going is a distraction.
Right.
And I only want to be around people that can challenge
No
me,
different
that can
than
teach me
spending
something
your time
else.
reading things that are not going to help you get
Right.
there.
Yep.
Watching things that aren't going to help you get there. Learning
Yep.
things that aren't. It's no
Yep.
different, right?
That's right.
Everything in your life's got to be geared towards that person you want to become.
Right.
Right, or that whatever that is,
Right.
right? Everything's got to be geared towards that. Your relationships, what you read, what you watch, all of it. It has to
I
be.
was looking for that book, to Be Your Future Self. I don't know if you've
Oh, it's a great book. Yeah,
if you've read it.
because
I don't know where it is, but I got
most people
plenty of
don't even know
copies.
how to picture that. Right, that's the thing. Yeah,
It's one of my top 3 books ever.
Yes,
That book
great
actually
book.
like changed everything and how I think because of that. And it's
Yeah.
just like I always revert back to, is this what future Jason wants to? Is this what future Jason would do? If
Yeah.
the answer is like, if you ask yourself every time, and I teach this too, and it helps. But if you like, you got to be aware, like you said. If you're not aware, you can't make any change.
right. No,
But when you go to do something in your life, you got to ask, if you're really like doubting on having the great life, right? Which to me is health, wealth, love, happiness, like all the things, not just
Yes.
money. When you go to do the thing, you got to ask yourself, does this align? Does this help me going towards my goals, or is it taking me away from my goals? And like, if you ask yourself that every single time you go to make a decision, dude, just that one question.
everything you do.
And it doesn't mean that sometimes we still don't do the thing that we know we shouldn't do, but like it does help 90% of that, like to keep
Yes.
you on track, right? Just like if you know you shouldn't have, ate the extra cheeseburger or whatever it is, like you go to bed with that and you're like, okay, I gotta fix this tomorrow. And you get right back on track because you're aware and you really want to become this version of yourself, right? We're all gonna mess up and life's not perfect, right? So when you mess up, you just got to get back on track. But when you're
Just
aware,
get right back
you
up
can
again.
you can understand, like, I can't do this again because this is not who I'm supposed to be.
Well, and some of that comes back to, like, if I was hanging with the crowd that is a group of people the way I want to be, would they do that
Right.
in their situation?
Right.
Mentally picture that going, okay, listen, this group of people that
Yeah.
I want to be like,
Yeah.
that I want to emulate like
Yeah.
I want my life to end up looking
Right.
like, right?
Right.
Would they be doing that if they were in the same situation
Yeah.
I'm in?
Yeah.
And if your answer is no, then you shouldn't be doing it, right?
That's why hanging around the right people is
You
so
have to.
it's so key. It's like
You have to.
Today we're in the gym working out, right? I can learn a lot from you, and I love that. Like I love to learn, and that's part of it. It's like,
It is.
how do you just pick one nugget up from somebody else that can help you get to the next level? Because I respect that, and
It's
it
huge.
just helps me level up, and it just makes me want to even be more disciplined when we're together, because I'm like, well, I can't slip up. This guy over here is like crushing it. I mean, you can't
Yes.
then
Yeah.
that's the point around getting
Yeah.
around people. Don't get your ego out of the way and understand, like, use the people you're around to help you just grow and get better. And then you're helping someone else along the way. Someone else is looking at you and it's like, hey, what are you doing? Can
That's
you
where
help
you
me?
used to be.
It's where you used to be. So,
Yeah.
that's just the beauty of it. And that's why, like, I only want to be around people that are striving for greatness, because I just know that it pulls me up.
It pulls you up.
I'm
It
not going
makes
to
you
slip
want to
up
be better. It
when I'm hanging
absolutely
around
does.
someone that's an elite shape. I am not going to leave and go do something that I shouldn't be. It just, not that I do anyway, but like, it's just
Yeah.
an extra. It's just an extra layer. It's like some of the things we talked about today. It's like, okay, I'm going to go do these 2 things because this is probably the 2 things I've never done in my life that may just give me like 1% better. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's all I'm trying to do is like, how do I tweak it
Yeah.
to get a little bit leaner, a little bit fuller, whatever the thing is, and go do it.
Yeah, and that applies to anything in your life.
Anything.
Anything, not just fit, anything.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Studying, learning, listening, right, to the people that you want to emulate. What are they doing? What can I pick up? How
That's
can
right.
I emulate? How can I learn, listen, and then repeat?
And then go help someone else do the same
And then
thing.
help somebody else do the same.
Because when you teach it, you understand it more
Yeah,
yourself.
and then, and that's the same thing too. When you're, everybody's got their gift, right? And sometimes those gifts, that gift might be helping other people, right?
Right.
That gift might be whatever it is, but whatever you do within your gift, you're always helping other people.
right.
A lot of times, get their gifts to other people, and it's this big circle. It's what's crazy about it, right?
Right.
When you're working really hard to help other people out, a lot of times then you're helping them out, and in turn they're helping someone else
Oh,
out.
yeah.
They couldn't do what they do without you helping them out, right? And so that you do that over and over and over again, you will have everything you want.
Right. Well, that's why I like doing what we're doing, helping people, get their health back, or helping it take it to a next level. Like you're helping them, their friends are seeing it, then they send referrals, and they're helping their friends, and it's like this massive thing that you're building where you're impacting millions of lives, and you're impacting people you don't even
No,
You don't even
did.
know you're impacting
Yes.
them because of the standard that you've set and the way that you live your life. People see that and are like, they got something figured out. I want to be like
and the
that.
same
It's
thing,
inspiring.
like we said too, though, we changed one person's life that in a family. That standard then that they have changes their kids' lives.
Yeah.
We don't know what that does down the road for their kids' families.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's breaking that like generational curse.
That's right.
You know, this is how it's always been done. We've just accepted the status quo. Like it's breaking that. Like everybody can have it all. You don't have to be unhappy in your life because that's what your parents did, right?
Right.
That's what everybody else around you has done. You don't have to do that. You can have the wealth, you can have the health, you can have the family, you can have the business.
Yep.
It just takes the effort, right? You've got to see the big picture.
Right. Yep.
But really to do all of that, you've got to feel good.
You got to feel good. 100%.
You have to,
right.
because if you don't have the energy, the focus, you don't have the drive, you don't have any of that when you don't feel good. And so getting your health aligned for where you want to be is absolutely critical.
Yes.
You know,
it is a staple for
It's
for
a staple
everything.
for everything.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Because you can't operate in the extremes of doing what you want to do the best way that you can unless you feel good.
100%.
Unless your health is there, because it's going to hold you back. And from the Christian perspective too, with these guys that I mentor all the time, like, listen, like literally, God has built you for a purpose in your life.
Exactly.
Right? And if you're sick and your diet's terrible and you feel terrible and you're fatigued, you might miss that purpose. You may not get the calling on your life, the gifts that he gave you because of your health, right?
Right.
You may not be able to serve the purpose that he's built you for, because that could be helping millions of people.
And your body's a temple, right?
Right.
You're supposed to take care of your body.
And I mean, when you look at that too, I'm like, listen, you just don't realize, like, we are all born with gifts, right? That we can pass on and we can help other people with. If your health is in the tank, those gifts aren't going to matter much at all, because you're not going to be able to go out there and carry them out and give those to other people like you should, because you feel terrible. You know, and living life with fatigue, living life just like these things that you feel like that, you know, that you just can't go on, like, you know, that you're tired all the time, you just don't feel good, you feel weak, you can't focus, you can't, all of these things that we hear all the time over, that is detracting from all the great things you can do in your life. And they just don't see the big picture of that. But yet when they feel better, all of a sudden they start going, wow, the light bulb kicks in, going, wow, I can't believe, like, I'm enjoying, like, talking to my husband or having relations with my husband or my spouse, or I'm going out and playing with my kids and I've never done that before. And they're just doing it. And all of a sudden they realize, going, I wasn't doing this like 6 months ago. I was too tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, so even from like what we talked about on the faith-based part of it, like literally, I truly believe, like, everybody, I don't care how you feel about yourself. Everybody is born with a gift in this world that they can pass on and they can help other people with.
100%.
There is no doubt in my mind that everybody is built with special talents and gifts that they alone have, that they can hit and help us up set number of people. There are people that are going to listen to me that wouldn't listen to somebody that's maybe, because they're all tatted up, that's what they like. They're going to listen to them because that's their type of person, right? And so, you know, but if they don't feel well, they're not going to get the message, because they're not going to listen to me, because I'm not the kind of people, typically, I'm not the kind of person that they look up to, that they hang with. But yet this person over here that fits in with them, right? With their demographic of what they like, their wants, and kinds of things like that. If they're a super healthy person and they're setting the standards, then it affects all of those groups of people, which I couldn't do. And so that's what I mean. Like, everybody, even the people, that's what I feel bad for, is like when you look at people, when they feel really bad about themselves, they don't realize, like, listen, you were born with very specific gifts, very special abilities that you're not even realizing are there. Like, you are a special person the way you were born. And you fall into feeling healthy and realizing what those gifts are and operating within those gifts, the amount of people that you can impact in your life is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And then sometimes it takes a while to figure out what that gift is. But, you know, like, I know, like, I'm operating, because there is never a day I get up and go, I got to go to work today.
Right.
I can't wait to get to the office and start changing people's lives. Right? I love what I do. But
you're living with purpose.
Yeah,
a lot
but
of people don't
I was
have
talking
purpose.
with Jack, like our media guy today, when we were at the gym. I was like, you know, but without him doing the things that he does with his gifts and his wisdom and his knowledge of media, social media, I can't get my word out there. I can't get out what I do. I can't get out there to help people, because I'm just Darrin VanScoyke, like, in West Virginia. But yet with people like them and their gifts, what they can do, I can impact people's lives in Phoenix, California, in Australia. And I've been able to do that because of that. But if it wasn't somebody like him operating with gifts and people like him all across the place, right? I wouldn't be able to reach out and use my gifts to help people in the way that I do.
That's right.
And we all have those different gifts. It's just realizing what those are, right? And being happy within that and realizing, okay, this is what I'm really good at. And you know, like you've been in different fields and different businesses. You know, when you're operating with what you're good at and what you were born to do, it's never work.
That's right.
It's never taxing. Like you get up, I can't wait to go do what I do.
Right.
That might be working on HVAC. That might be what you truly enjoy doing, right? Like you might be a person, I can't wait to go help somebody that's an old person who doesn't have air conditioning. I get to go change their life because they're miserable.
Right.
Right? Or, you know, I don't have the mind for that, right?
Right.
You know, and these people, it's just not my thing. It's not what I would enjoy doing. But the people that do enjoy it, I mean, they're impacting your life. So again, it's finding out what you really enjoy, working within that. Feeling good though, having the health that you can do that to the absolute best of the ability you've been given, so that you can absolutely impact the most people as possible with that gift and that ability is absolutely paramount in our lives. Because then no matter what, you go to bed at night, you feel fulfilled. And so many people are missing that in their life. They don't feel fulfilled because number one, they're not doing the right things in their life, and they're not pursuing really what they were built to pursue.
That's most people. They don't have a purpose, right?
Right.
And so it's one thing I like about, you know, the coaching mentoring space is you get to help change people's lives. And to me, like I never get tired of having that conversation.
No.
You know, and you have a lot of them every day, but like when you can truly help someone with the experience you have, like there's just no greater feeling than that.
There isn't.
And so you don't get, you don't have like, oh my God, I got to do another call and help another person. It's the opposite. Like you look forward to doing that because you know you can actually help someone change.
If
they're ready to commit.
Every time you go in front of somebody, it's an opportunity to change a life.
And the more people you can serve, the better your life will be.
Yes.
The more things will just come your way. And most people are about serving themselves. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that is absolutely.
It's like if you serve others first, you'll get everything you want.
Yeah.
And if people would just understand that, especially business owners, right?
Completely.
It took me a while to understand that. You know, but that's what I did. It's like, how do I serve everybody on my team and help them get what they want?
Yeah.
And then I win.
If you are working for money, even if you have it, you're destined to be a person who's not a happy person.
No, and people are going to be around you because they're using you.
Yeah.
Like
For
they're
the
using
money.
you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be miserable anyway because you're just like, you know, you're just going to be buying stuff to buy it, trying to fulfill your stuff. And it's like a dopamine hit. And then you go back to your miserable self trying to make more money, thinking that's going to be the answer. And it's not the answer.
But if you're doing what you do and you're working to help other people, the money is always going to follow.
Right.
It is always going to follow.
Right. That's right.
And you're always going to go to bed at night and feel good about yourself.
But most
you
people
don't have to step on other people to do it. You don't have to badmouth other people to do it.
Yeah.
You can just be who you are, your genuine self, working within what you're good at, helping people. And that could be that's anything across any service industry field, whatever it is, right? Helping people, and then the reward will always come back. That financial reward will always. But anytime you're just working for the money, you're not going to be a happy person. Your relationships are going to suffer because there's never going to be enough money to make you feel better. There's never a point in time where you go, I have enough. When you're working just for the money. Now, when you're working to be a service to other people, you feel good about what you did every single day when you go home.
And the money will follow eventually. Like may not happen right away, you know.
You got to be patient.
Got to be patient. Go through the process, and you know, we talked about it earlier. It's why it's going to be hard when you're building anything, right? That you're just starting. But if you have purpose and then it's
patience,
the thing that will get you through the hard times because there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing, and there's
and
a
you
payoff,
know it,
and you know it in your heart, which is why you keep going.
Yes.
Even if it's costing you everything along the way.
In the hard times, knowing that you're doing the right thing and you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
It lets you dig your heels in, even when your back's up against the wall, and you keep pushing back.
Yeah.
Until you get there. Until you absolutely get there.
Yeah.
And that again comes down to you can't do that if you don't feel good.
Right.
Yeah, you just can't.
Yeah.
There's just no way you can optimize that ability unless your health is where it should be. So, we say this over and over again, but it's truly because we both believe that if your health isn't the priority in your life, you will never hit all the goals that you want.
Yeah.
You're going to be limited.
And you can't guess. You got to test. I
Right.
love that.
That's absolutely the truth. It makes a massive difference. So, yeah, absolutely. So,
hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this information helpful and you're wanting to take your health and fitness to the next level, we would love to help you.
Yeah, so guys, listen, Jason and I want to make ourselves really accessible. it's really important for us is if this is resonating with you and you know, like, listen, I need more of this in my life. I need to be a better person than what I am for my family, for my business, whatever it is. We're going to put our numbers below. There are going to be 2 numbers there. There is no reason you can't get a hold of us. It's going to be our numbers. You're going to be able to get a hold of us. That's how important this is. So please reach out. Don't hesitate. Remember, everybody has to start somewhere. Do not hesitate. Don't put it off, because if you put it off now, you're just going to keep putting that off, right? And this is something you can't afford to wait on. So again, both of our numbers will be below. Get a hold of us one way or the other. Jason and I can't wait to talk to you. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching.